Man cave classroom, analyzing some documents today. We're going to look at this first photo from World War One. We could probably just start off by making just some simple observations here. I like this photo. We just talked about people coming together in our recent videos, trying to get a job done. But
yes,
if we look here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have like 7 guys here, all trying to do one job, and it seems like that job is to
carry a stretcher with which appears to be somebody on it. I see a face right here.
Yep.
Legs. I can see a cross, a plus. These are medics, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I would venture to say they're all medics, but those are the only pluses that I see. So notice this guy has a gas mask on his front, just in case of a gas attack. I'm assuming they're in no man's land.
Yep. We're at least close to the trenches. I mean, and the thing that they have to contend with here, which is probably why it's taking 7 people, is that you have this mud. And if you look here, I mean, if you had...
This dude's knee deep.
Right. I was just going to say, if you have read or heard your teacher or historian say that you had soldiers that were almost up to their hips or up to their knees in mud, and you went, can't be, right up here. We have just beyond the knee, right just below the knee. So this was deep. And now you're trying to get this patient from one point to another.
And I'd imagine if this is no man's land, there might be bullets flying everywhere.
This is a dangerous job if you were a medic.
Yes. I don't know if you ever gone like river walking, like in the silt.
Oh yeah.
I've lost shoes,
Absolutely.
in like riverbed silt, because like you sing down, it like creates a suction as you try, and there goes your shoe.
That's it.
Never to be seen from again.
And here, what you're looking here is that you have to take your patient from point A and get them to eventually point B. Now, this is going to be very laborious, tough work, and you have to get them there to a surgeon, hopefully in enough time to save their life.
I'd imagine this is some sort of frontline hospital.
Yeah.
Which really looks like a church to me.
At one point, yeah, makeshift
hospital.
hospital.
Church, and this is a hospital, probably doing operations on the altar.
So, medicine and treating patients, you're not talking about the most optimum conditions. No. You definitely, you're going from here on the front line. Again, this is World War One. What do we know about medicine today? We've learned a lot from the world wars and the recent wars where we have gotten better, where here, they did a lot of things right, but then there was a lot of things that just for the lack of advances in technology and the environment itself kind of got in the way of things. And here you have an idea here that, this was your makeshift hospital. And again, you don't have a lot of doctors.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, who
Certainly
knows?
not going to be sterile conditions going on here.
No, not. There's a lot that can be contended with. But the one document I want us to take a look at in that same breath is something that we'll look at right here. And if we look here, you're now on the battlefield. Again, we're getting an idea of this is World War One, the doughboy helmet right there. But now if you're looking, and of course with the date, April 1918, the tourniquet, each stretcher bearer, each officer, each man if possible should know how to fix a garrote. The use of the garrote has been much criticized, but if it causes the loss of a limb, it may save a life. Many men die unnecessarily from hemorrhage on the battlefield and at the ambulance. So, number one thing that's going to kill you on the battlefield, massive hemorrhage. They have something that can kind of combat that, the tourniquet.
So what we're talking about here is you might have been shot in a limb, non-fatal wound if treated properly, but this could kill you. We're not talking about, getting shot in the head, getting shot in the heart or the abdomen. We're talking like, maybe you stepped on a mine and you're missing a limb, or you were shot in the arm, we're talking about a major bleed.
And that's a good point, because when you're looking at major bleeds, the one major bleed, we're gonna get gross here for a second, is gonna be an arterial one. This is what you're describing there is just like, yeah, venous bleed, capillary bleed, these are gonna be really bad, but when you're looking at an arterial bleed, your arteries are gonna be, brachial arteries, femoral arteries, carotid arteries, temporal arteries. It spurts out like a water fountain.
We saw a lot of this in the Boston Marathon bombing.
Yep.
The victims as the bombs exploded and the shrapnel from inside the bombs.
And it's interesting that you should bring that up, because what we'll do is we'll kind of look at, the type of tourniquet they had during this particular time period, and then the type of tourniquets that we have now and how readily available we are. And this speaks to what you're just bringing up. If you don't control this bleed within a minute, that person's dead.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at tourniquets, which is pretty interesting because we just happen to have two. Here is one. Thank you, eBay, for this one.
Here we go.
All right. here is one that if we look at it, this was a German one. And the interesting thing about the tourniquet is this, is that when you're looking at your World War I tourniquet, you know, the whole idea here is that you're going to put the arm through here. Probably do that one. So we'll go through here. And what makes it easier, bringing it in a little bit more, what's going to make it easier and easier for soldiers to adapt to, because again, that document advocated everybody learning it's going to operate like a belt. So you kind of cinch it down. You're going to turn this, because when we are going to the artery, just put your arm down for a second. When you're going to an artery, think of an artery like a hose in a water fight. You kink the hose, the water is not going to come out. Water fight's done. You know, that's how I like to think of it. You know, when you were having a water fight with your brothers when you were younger, you know, throwing balloons, if somebody got that hose, they had an advantage. Yeah. You go behind them and kink it, that's it. And that's what you're trying to do here.
This almost reminds me of like when you go to the doctor's office and they're about to take blood.
And they're gonna draw blood,
yeah.
Right? To make the veins cut up, because what they're doing is that they're cutting it out off. So if you're looking at this tourniquet here, we're now gonna turn it down, and then all of a sudden it's going to stop the bleeding. We'll write T on his forehead. So that's indicating that when he gets to this next level of care, that he has a tourniquet on, because clothing can kind of cover that up. Now the thing is that, you know, as
and notice how wide this can go.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is wide enough to get around my leg too. You know, I've stepped on a landmine.
Yeah.
I've blown off below my knee, and I'm bleeding out.
This thing has a horrible reputation, right? Because even this document right here is saying, you know, the use of this Garrett has been criticized, but if it causes a loss of limb, it may save a life. This thing comes under heavy scrutiny.
Right. I mean,
heavy scrutiny.
I'm bleeding out.
Right.
I'm bleeding out. You apply the tourniquet to me. What are you doing? You're cutting off blood flow from that point below my arm.
Right.
My cells, my muscle, my tissue is no longer receiving oxygen.
Right.
It's going to die. But you know what's not going to die? Me.
Right.
So that's the criticism. It's like, okay, you've applied a tourniquet, and if you are in a wound where you have to have a tourniquet applied, chances are you're going to need to have that limb amputated.
So here's the thing, when you're talking about that, you know, the reason why it's criticized, it's not because of its use or the way it's used. It's once you apply that, you have about an hour or two before now you're going to suffer severe limb loss, and it's going to cause further injuries. From the time it takes to get from the battlefield, no man's land, to an ambulance, to this, how much time is going
being
by?
triaged, you might be 5th on the list because, okay, yeah, you were shot, but the bleeding is now under control.
And the other thing is, you have 1-2 doctors in this makeshift hospital.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's something to bring up too. It takes 7 people to carry 1 man on a stretcher. How much time is that going to take?
Yeah.
So it's not the device that it's not doing its job. It's the time that's really taking to getting from point A to point B. And the reason why I bring that up is because, well, if you look, here, you hold this one. If you look at the common tourniquet, which, by the way, police officers now use today, they now carry this. You know, the number one thing that's going to kill you in a combat-like environment or in a environment where you're talking about on the streets as a police officer is going to be massive hemorrhage. What's the one thing that you can carry? A tourniquet. And this is going to work the same way. So let's borrow your arm again, right? Same exact way. We come up, but now we've gotten fancier, Velcro. We open this up, we turn. You know, again, we put this there, now the Velcro now actually covers it up, and now the bleeding's controlled. We write a T on his forehead or on the tourniquet itself to indicate that he has a tourniquet on, so a doctor knows. But the interesting thing is that when you're looking at that document that's indicating that these tourniquets, you know, have a little bit of a bad reputation, it's not necessarily the tourniquet itself. It's, you know, it's that time it takes to get the patient from point A to point B. Yeah. I mean, of course, these are more widely used today because the time it takes you to get to a surgeon once this is on, that time has been cut in half, or it's in minutes, thanks to things like helicopters.
And you and I, both being coaches, having to take CPR first aid certifications, you know, you don't have a tourniquet.
Right.
You know, take a belt. You know, I could take this belt, my belt's a little bit differently.
Yep.
But, you know, put this around my arm, pull it as tight as possible, and then you get a stick.
If you
stick a stick and then twist it as tight as you have to do to make it work.
And if you
could
have to
save a life one day.
And if you have to improvise, that's exactly what you do.
Man cave classroom. We just don't educate. We save lives.
We save lives.
We save lives.
Anything else we got on this? Right. Again, you want to prevent the water fountain getting to.
Yeah, you're not going to put a tourniquet on a capillary or even. I mean, the venous bleed. I mean, if you're talking about your vena cava.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. This is what you're trying to stop.
Jugular.
Where'd it go? Where'd it go? There you go.
If you separate
That's-
jugular, but that's your neck. You're not gonna
That's
put
the limitation.
You're not putting a tourniquet around your neck.
You're using this for limbs. You're
Yeah.
not using this for your neck. But I mean, we love getting hands on when it comes to this.
Put a tourniquet. It'll stop the bleeding.
It'll stop the bleeding.
It'll also stop your brain.
Yeah. All right. Good. Anything else?
No.
Thanks for watching.